Excuse me. Have you seen our house?
Sorry?
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mrs. Moonstomper.
And I'm Mr. Moonstomper.
Hey you! Don't watch that! Watch this!
What? What's that noise?
I know what that is. It's the nutty train. Watch this.
All aboard! Aquí, Chassis! Aquí, Chassis! All aboard!
Hey you! Don't watch that! Watch this! This is the heavy, heavy monster sound! The nutties sound around! So if you're coming off the street and you're beginning to feel the heat, well listen Buster, you better start to move your feet to the rockiness, rock steady beat of madness.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Night boats to Cairo.
They call it baggy trousers, baggy trousers, baggy trousers. And all I wanted was a word of autograph. And all I wanted was a word of autograph.
Aquí, Chassis!
Buster, he sold the heat
Aquí, Chassis!
with a rock steady beat. Buster, bump me over with your bogus legs, shuffle me off my feet. Even if I kept on running, I'd never get to Orange Street.
the nutties down the road. To the rockiness, steady beat of madness.
Hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. Right, that was, as you gathered, the early period of madness. And the reason we picked that is quite simple. I think, and I don't know about you, Mrs. Moonstomper, that is the most interesting part of madness.
Oh yes.
So to the point where they split up and then they've reformed. They've reformed lots and lots of times, and they are still going in essence.
Oh yes.
But that to me is the most important part of madness, and the best part as well.
Yeah.
Whether you agree or not agree. So what do you know about madness then, Mrs. Moonstomper? Have you got an amazing facts?
Yes. The fact the Sug's got his name, his nickname.
So how did you get that then, Mrs. Moonstomper?
It was an encyclopedia he picked off his mum's bookshelf. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. He opened up the page and randomly stuck a pin in, and it stopped at the name Peter Suggs. He was a jazz musician. He played the flute in a jazz band.
Just think what you could have picked. Just
Out of all the names in
if
that
it had got to H or A, it could have been Adolf or, I mean, but there you go. That's another story.
Yes,
that's quite fascinating, and I didn't know that.
Yes.
So Graham McPherson is Suggs' real name,
Yes.
and you saw that in the Vita. So Graham McPherson is he Scottish?
I think he's got Celtic roots.
Celtic roots, but
Yes.
he called himself Suggs because...
You don't want to be classed as an ethnic minority.
What else do you know about madness? And because you seem to have all the facts and all the information on this.
I wish. The track, Madness track, It Must Be Love. It's a cover version. The original singer's a soul singer called Labi Sifri.
Oh.
Yes, his single was from the 1970s, and he also made a cameo appearance in the Madness video. It Must Be Love.
That's right, and we put that in the Vita. I think we put about Labi Sifri in the Vita, but we didn't put the cameo appearance. Did we? No, we didn't. What other cameo appearances were there in Madness videos?
Yes, I like Driving in My Car, the song I like Driving in My Car. Vroom, vroom. Yes, Funboy 3 made a cameo appearance in the Madness song.
The Funboy 3 were
from Specials.
So that was made up of...
the lead singer, Terry Hall.
And...
The guitarist, Linval Goulding, and dancer, singer, Neville Staples.
There you go, and they were part of Pete Waterman's protege.
Yes.
But that's a different story to the other. Yeah, and who knew that? Well, actually, I seem to recall that vaguely, but that's 40 odd years ago, incidentally,
Yes.
and that time's gone like
Wow.
that. So, talking of information and useless information, did you know Suggs is a member of the Useless Information Society?
Well, who knew that?
Well, I don't know, but I just thought I'd say that because that's completely useless. But there you go, I'm full of useless information today, guys.
And the world needs useless information.
Thank you very much indeed. So what else do you know about madness then? Any little gems, Mrs. Moonstomper? I'm sure you have a few in your sleeve. Not that you've got sleeves, or if you haven't, it's very
Not
short.
today.
So this video could be short, judging by the size of your sleeves, but hey, go for it.
The 80s comedian and turned singer by the name of Tracy Ullman. She covered My Girl's Mad at Me, changing the girl to My Guy's Mad at Me. Yes.
And then Neil Kinnock, so the Labour MP, Neil Kinnock.
Yes.
Not that we're politically swayed, because all politicians are, but anyway, regardless of that, that's not the show for this.
No.
Neil Kinnock, actually, so he was the then Labour leader,
yes.
who was opposite to Maggie Thatcher.
Oh, yes.
And he appeared in that video
He did, yes.
in a bid to woo youngsters into politics.
Ah.
Yeah, cheap tricks and all that.
Yeah, I think that's a trick.
I do as well, but nevertheless, it kind of flops, and so it should have done as well. So, Suggs, Graham McPherson, did you know he was a TV presenter as well?
Oh, yes, yes.
And he presented Salvage Squad. Now, I used to watch Salvage Squad. So if you know what Salvage Squad was, that was on, I believe it was on Discovery Channel. And they got old vehicles, like sort of, you know, steamrollers and tanks and trams, and they did them up.
Oh, yes.
So he presented, he was the lead presenter, and they got different engineers, and they built these things to the nth degree. So what else did Suggs star in?
He starred in a musical quiz. It was really a musical quiz called Night Fever.
Sorry.
It's alright. Yeah, he starred in like some famous faces, answered questions, and you had to have a bit of a knowledge for music.
And did you know he was also in a couple of films as well?
No, I didn't know.
In the early 80s. Well, he was in a cameo film playing himself.
Oh, right.
Which you put in the VT, but he was in a couple of other films as well.
Oh, right.
So he's quite a successful actor in his own right.
Yes.
And TV presenter as well. Still presented TV in bits and pieces up to this day. And radio as well, radio presenter. Absolutely amazing.
Gosh,
so
he's
who
got
knew
the
that?
world's this food, multi-talented.
Well, I knew that because I quite like the bloke and I think
Yes.
he's absolutely good. But did you also know, so Britpop fans out there, I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, in the comments below if I'm wrong, he co-managed or he managed the farm.
All together now.
In No Man's Land. Yep.
Yes.
So of Manchester fame, the farm, are they not? Yeah, part of Britpop. And we've got a Britpop special coming up shortly, guys. Not sure when that's going to be, but at the end of this video, we'll tell you what we've got coming up and hopefully when. There's another thing about Madness. So, in 1979, so Madness were going since 1976 in one guise or another. And in 79, they signed up to Two-Tone Records for one record, which was The Prince, and they released that, and it had moderate success in the charts. I think it was a top 10 or a top 20 hit, if I remember rightly, and it was the only record they did on Two-Tone, and they actually went on the Two-Tone tour in 1979, which is quite a famous tour, with the Specials and the Selector. So there you go. Yeah, where they all got in the coach together, and the coach was, there's pictures of this coach, and it's just like, as Pauline Black said, so Pauline Black was the lead singer of the Selector, and she said it was like a school trip. All these people on this like school, it was like a school coach, and they did a tour of the UK, and Two-Tone took off like a rocket. So after the Two-Tone, that one Two-Tone record, because if you remember, if you watched our Two-Tone video, the deal with Two-Tone was you could sign for one record and then walk away straight away after that deal, which was actually unheard of in modern music, and it's still unheard of now. But they were actually signed to Stiff Records for a great deal of their, not a great deal, but their early times from the, I think it was from 79 up until the mid-80s. They were signed up to those guys, and I think it was Dave Robinson and somebody Riviera. Chris Riviera was it? I think. And they owned Stiff Records, which was actually part of Island Records. So if you like your reggae, then you'll know exactly who Island Records were. So Chris Blackwell. He own Island Records?
Yes, he did.
I believe he did. So there you go. More useless facts or more amazing facts, depending on which way you look at it. But yeah, there you go, and that's weird, isn't it? That's, you know. But Elvis Costello, Elvis Costello was also signed to Stiff Records. Not originally at first, but he went across to Stiff Records, and Elvis Costello had a hand in helping to produce Madness as well in the background. In fact, Elvis Costello used to, I think,
singer.
But he used to work for, I think it was either Robinson or Riviera as a roadie when they were in a group. So it's quite, for want of a better word, it's quite sort of, it's all interconnected. I was going to say another word, but that's not the word or the comment for this channel. But you know the word I mean. It's all
It's like a camaraderie type thing. Isn't
Camaraderie,
it? Yes.
but there you go. So who knew that?
Elvis Costello and the Attractions.
Yeah.
Yes. Also signed to Stiff Records. I mentioned Tracy Ullman, the comedian. She was on, when she covered the track My Guy's Mad at Me, she was on Stiff Records also.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
But there you go. And there's another thing for you as well. So the first two Madness albums, Suggs sang in a Cockney accent.
Ah, right.
And that was part of the charm of Madness. They were Cockney lads, very much sort of football fans, typical like Chelsea fans.
Oh, yes.
And the Cockney accent was key. When Two Tone slipped away, which it did do, not that it was signed to Two Tone, but that scene, the Ska revival scene, slipped away.
Okay.
Suggs was told to sing in a more neutral accent to bring the pop element in. So if you you can actually hear that on the third LP, and then the fourth LP. You can hear that, but it was the fourth LP where they actually scored their biggest hit. Oh. So do you know what the biggest hit was?
Our House.
Our House was actually the biggest hit, but that got to I think it was number one in. No, it actually got to a top 10 in 10 different countries.
Wow,
but I think it was House of Fun was their only number one.
Oh, I see.
House of Fun was number one in the UK. And Ireland, of all places. In terms of success for a group, not massive in the grand schemes of things. So when you look today, because the internet's a big place, the world is small because of the internet now, and with the likes of online music, literally it's a download and you've got the record. You don't have to go out and buy it physically anymore. So sales are soaring and soaring and soaring. Whereas once upon a time, 50,000 sales might get you a number one. You're looking at 500,000 now to get that number one because music's more. It's more within your grasp, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. You know, yes, it's good because youngsters can now experience they can experience anything. From bygone eras. In my day, if I wanted hits from the 50s and 60s, I had to go to a rare record shop. And you'd be like that.
It's a good feeling, isn't it? Rifling through all the records.
Absolutely, and put them out, but you can actually smell the record as well. And I know that sounds funny, but
it's got a lovely smell.
If you own vinyl, you'll know exactly what we mean by that, guys.
You can't beat it.
So there's another thing. So in 1985. Suggs and Chaz Smash actually did a thing called the Think Brothers, and that was Alter Egos. Do you actually remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes.
And it was, I think it was based on the 2000 AD comic.
Yes.
Judge Dredd. Show me age there. Yeah, and that was a really short-lived.
Yes.
It was actually a flop.
It was.
Yeah, they came out with one song, and I think he got to number 50 in the charts, which is not.
So low.
Yeah, because it's only the top 40 that's actually aired in the United Kingdom, or at that point it was. So what else do you know about Madness then, Mrs. Moonstone? I'm sure you gave me a funny the other day.
Yes, there can be pranksters. They are naughty boys after all. Lee Thompson Kicks from the band, he came up with a plan to go and raid the Clash's studio where they were rehearsing at the time. And they were donned in the policeman's uniform, the full attire. They went in, they burst in, and I think one of them shouted, "Don't move!" And they said all you could hear was like banging of the toilet doors and flush, the flushing. And they found out the Clash, to their dismay, found out they weren't real policemen. They were the Madness members. And they did not speak to them for a very long time. I think it was 5 years. 5
years. So all that flushing, I dare say, was the Clash's all gotten, Colombian marching powder then.
I didn't want to share the sherbet dim dabs.
There you go, guys. There you go. And they dressed up as policemen in that video, didn't they? Shut up. If you remember, so if you haven't seen Shut Up, the video is absolutely hilarious.
It
But
is.
then again, that's what Madness were in that period of time.
Oh, yes.
It was really, really comedic videos.
Oh, definitely.
And like you say, the Nutty Boys.
Yes.
You know, and why not? Here's a weird fact for you. So Paul Carrack. So if you don't know who Paul Carrack is, Paul Carrack's a blue-eyed soul boy, and he wrote songs for the likes of Dinah Ross, Eric Clapton, and also Madness. But he toured with Madness, and I think he took Barson's place in 1984.
Okay.
But Paul Carrack was actually with Mike and the Mechanics,
Yes.
if you didn't know, and he's a legendary musician in his own right.
Such a good voice.
But
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. But what an accolade to have such a big name as that in your band.
Yes, wow.
Although he wasn't so big at that point, but he's absolutely stratospheric now.
Yes.
If you couldn't guess. So
Okay.
there you go. So here's one for you, Mrs. Moonstomp.
Yes.
Madness's worst ever chart position.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Right,
Tell
it's
me.
position 199.
Wow.
Right, so that's an absolute. I didn't sell many. Forever Young.
Okay.
In I think it was 2010,
Oh.
and I think they had a number. I can't remember which song they did a couple of years after that. It got to number 88, but they haven't really charted since.
Oh, it's a shame.
I think it's an absolute shame, but those guys are still touring, and when they tour and they come on stage, they absolutely smash it. If you haven't seen Madness live, go and see those guys live. You will not regret a single moment of it, even at their age now. So
Yeah.
Sugsy's 63, 64,
I think
something
round
like
that
that.
age, yes.
But those guys have still got it. They really have.
Yes. Right. So, Mr. Moonstomper, where do these nutty boys get the idea for a nutty train?
That's a difficult question.
Oh,
However,
okay.
if my memory serves me right, in the 70s and 80s there was a comedian, and I think was he Northern Irish, Dave Allen?
I knew he was
he
Irish.
I can't remember his Northern Irish, right, but I digress there completely. But he used to drink and smoke like a trooper, and but again I digressed. But his sketches were they were controversial to say the least,
Yes.
or they were a bit different, they were a bit out there, and I think it was the sketch where it shows people coming out and going to work, and they're actually going to work in a sardine factory,
Oh, yes.
and they all get in line and squash together to work in a sardine factory. Yeah, so, you know, packed together like sardines. Go figure, guys. But that's the best explanation for where Madness actually got the nutty train from.
But I
Who
think
knew
they
that?
I think they just took it and made it more fun
Yeah, they did,
to like
yeah.
walk in a line and sort of like down and up.
They did, yeah. And you know, if you've not seen that, guys, just go and look at it. It's a bit out there. It's a bit different. It's certainly the strangest thing I ever saw. But that's what captivated me when I first saw that
Yes.
Madness.
Okay.
So One Step Beyond is the absolute, epitome of that.
Of course.
In terms of spin-offs as well, so we mentioned the Think Brothers. There was also the Nutty Boys as well, which was none other than, can you remember?
Chris Foreman, Lee Thompson as well.
Lee Thompson. They were the Nutty Boys.
Oh, yes.
So the Madness were the Nutty Boys as a whole, but they just broke off, I think it was in the early 90s, and did a small project called the Nutty Boys.
Oh, I see.
And I think they did an LP, or an EP if I remember
Oh, I
rightly.
see.
But I'd have to go and look at Wikipedia or some such to look at that.
I see.
But in terms of collabing as well, they collabed with Elvis Costello.
Wow.
And I can't remember the name of the song they collabed with Elvis Costello, but it was based on Elvis Costello's hit of Watching the Detectives.
Oh.
It had got that theme to it as well. And they also collabed with sang with the Pet Shop Boys as well. I think
right.
Suggs did. I'm sure he did
Gosh.
later on. So that's quite bizarre, isn't it? To think that's two different genres of music completely.
Definitely.
Madness was based on they were Londoners, weren't they?
Yes.
Right, and Camden Town was their thing, so everything was about Camden Town. If you watch loads of their videos, it always mentions Camden Town, or it shows areas of near there,
Yes.
and the majority of their songs are based on their experiences, funnily enough, aren't they?
Oh, right, yes.
So baggy trousers, listen to the words in baggy trousers. If you're that age, around about my age, then you'll remember you will absolutely remember that.
That's
which
the
is-
experience of all the...
Exactly.
all the-
And Suggs was actually born in Hastings.
Oh, I see.
So he wasn't. That's not London, is it? Hastings, really. The Hastings is on the south coast.
Okay, yes.
And his dad was I believe his dad was a Scottish farmer, if I remember right, and his mum was a Welsh jazz singer.
Oh, yes.
And Suggs didn't actually know about the death of his father until he
my
read
gosh.
his own Wikipedia entry.
Oh.
I think it was in about 2012, something like that. He read his own Wikipedia entry that his dad had died, and he didn't even know because
that's
he
awful.
didn't grow up with his father,
No.
which is strange, isn't it? Really?
Plus he's an only child as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That pretty much brings us to the end of a brief tour of madness. It's only a potted history. As I say, we're not experts. Those are just our opinions and some of our experiences and bits and pieces we do know. Right, there are a couple of things we want to say before we sign off for this episode, and that is I and Mrs. Moonstomper are absolutely overwhelmed by your kindness, the response to our channel. It's a tiny little channel at the moment, and I genuinely didn't, and you didn't, expect so many views. I am just absolutely overwhelmed. I'm bowled over by your comments, your generosity, the fact that you're taking your time out to watch us and support us, and the likes, the comments, everything. It's absolutely amazing. Guys, please keep it coming. It really means so much to us, doesn't it, Mrs.
Yes, it
Moonstomper?
does. Absolutely means ever such a lot.
Really does.
Yes.
Yeah. So we like I say,
Appreciate.
we do indeed. So sincerest thanks for that. We can't thank you enough, guys. So coming up next time, what have we got, Mrs. Moonstomper?
We have Britpop.
Britpop, Rule Britannia. Stick around and stay tuned for that one. You won't want to miss that, because that covers your ocean colour scenes, your Oasis, Blur, the battle between those guys,
Yes.
and other bits as well. Saw your Manchester scene as well. That'll be quite good. That'll be really in depth as well. We've also got a special on the specials coming up.
Yes.
We've also got a jam special.
Yes.
I think we've got
The
the Who,
Who,
reggae,
Tamla Motown.
Tamla Motown. You won't want to miss the Tamla Motown. That is an absolute belter. That'll be coming up in a few
Yes,
weeks.
yes.
One a week at the moment. And what else have we got coming up? We've got some as well. I know we've got coming up some reviews as well. So if you like your gear, your clothing,
Oh, yes.
that type of thing.
Fashion as well,
Yeah,
isn't it?
we've got some compares and contrasts coming up. And
And a look at scooters.
scooters, so we're going to have a scooter special as
Yes,
well.
yes.
So when we can get out and about at the moment, it's raining and it's as wet as
The weather's so unpredictable.
it's as wet as Stevie Wonder's toilet seat at the moment, guys. It just really is. So we're not able to get out and about at the moment, but we will get out and about, and we're going to try and do a scooter special for you,
Yes.
which I think people would like to look at.
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
they?
Surely, yes.
Yeah, and then maybe we might do a music special as well.
Yes.
So, anything else?
Yeah.
Moonstomper, what?
Yeah. Stay
Stay
natty.
natty. Right, until the next time, guys. Peace out.
Have you seen our house?